Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, what did I leave out? Good night, good morning, good evening, and welcome to the show. I'm David Starlyte, and this is a weekly show, psychic mediumship, spiritual growth, intuition, grow your world, grow your reality. We have what's called a growth mindset. We are growing, we are learning and growing and becoming greater human beings, greater spirit beings. So, welcome everyone. During this broadcast, you can support my page by sending stars, a digital gift that helps me to earn money. Manya. All right, so we are live, everyone. Please do like and share. Coming to you live from the Great Barrier Reef, Australia. Good morning, Marianne. Good morning, Shani. Welcome. How are you, Marianne? It's a little bit cool here, which is really nice. We have a little week or two during the year where it gets cool in the early morning. It's just after 8 a.m. here. And it's very surprising because this is tropical Australia. So this is not cold for most of you. This is like, I don't know, 70 degrees or something cold. Maybe it gets down to 60 degrees. I don't really know, but probably about 15 degrees Celsius or something like that. Marianne says 91 degrees and melting. Wow, Marianne, that is very warm. Very warm in the US of A. So I was on the radio 2 days ago on Sunday, and it was actually 7 a.m. for me. I think I was half asleep, and it was like very growth oriented, very like rah, quite inspirational, all about elevation and pushing beyond one's limits and going beyond. There was a group of people. It was really quite cool. I don't really remember too much of what I talked about, but it's a little bit of a blow. Maybe it was way too early in the morning, but the podcast was called Rise to Greater Heights, or actually a Rise to Greater Heights Summit. So I think it's a weekly or monthly thing, Rise to Greater Heights Summit. So I will see if I can find the link and share that, if I am able to find the link. And I talked a little bit about, I guess, as that title implies, Rise to Greater Heights, I talked about expansion, about moving beyond one's wounds. I think your pain as the beginning of your awakening. So the title was From Wound to Wisdom. From Wound to Wisdom. So that I shared some personal stories about my own life, suffering from pain and narcissistic abuse and the like, and how these wounds did not break me. They became a type of portal, type of gateway, type of initiation into transformation, into inner work, into growth, essentially. And healing is really about being present. It requires one to be present, not running away, but actually being real with things and allowing things to be however they are, light, dark, colored, purple, green, blue, allowing that to be, accepting it as a lived reality, as lived experience, without resistance, without judgment, without allowing one's nervous system to go awry, to go astray, or to actually allow one's nervous system to integrate its experiences, integrate its pain with compassion. And this allowance brings the wisdom. This allowance brings the wisdom. Allowance brings one into a doorway of awakening. Awakening is something, what does it actually mean? Because it comes from the word awake. And if you're watching this show, I presume you're awake. And there's different levels of being awake. There's just an ability to see what's in front of you. Like an animal is very awake and very present, usually, to what's around it, what's its immediate vicinity. But awakening implies something deeper, something that is transcendent in nature as well. asking the questions, asking what is this trauma? Why did this trauma happen to me? What can I learn and grow from this experience, from this challenge, from this hurdle, from this tragedy even, so that trauma doesn't necessarily injure it. It's a process of initiation. It initiates. So that's kind of what I was talking about. Growth, transformation, experience, awakening, what we had to do. I guess you can call it soul level transformation. That's a nice way to describe it. What's happening with you? Did I go off a little bit? Awakening is about asking the questions and being aware, becoming more and more aware of how the world is changing, and its multiple perspectives, multiple truths coinciding, all being true, all being valid. Maybe true is the wrong word, but valid. That person thinks this, that person thinks this. But also this multi-dimensional expansion of realities, of portals, of timelines. So, and that's really interesting when you think of how many timelines are available to me right now, how many futures are available in the present moment, which future I'm going to walk down, and are all of them happening at once? Are all of them occurring at the same time? So it does feel like there's so many things being thrown at us all the time. Right now, things used to be a little bit more condensed as far as I'm concerned, and it's become very much the world opening up and expanding into much more an open-ended experience, much more of a reality with many perspectives, with many hats, with many labels. And I was thinking about myself, and they were reading my biography on the podcast, and it was going on, and I was thinking, I don't really attach to labels so much. I mean, I kind of have a few labels, all right, that I'm okay with, but I kind of think we can keep getting more and more labels, especially if you study a lot. I've studied quite a lot of things, and then you can become, all right, you're a student, and then you're a scholar of this, you're a scholar of that. You become a counselor, you become a therapist, you become a this, you become a that, and especially in the wellness space, in CAM, complementary and alternative medicine, there's a million gazillion labels. I even just did a certification in shadow work, and then they sent me a certificate. You're a shadow work practitioner or shadow work coach, I think the word was. You're a shadow. So now I can add that label, and then another label, and then it's never ending, and it's part of this experience, and it's important that we play with these labels, that we see the illusion. We see through the illusion of reality. We see that we're essentially underlying or underneath or beneath the surface of all these labels is a soul. That's our essence. At our core, we're a soul, and we had to have a human experience to experience many perspectives and come out of it with some kind of wisdom. And also, we're not here to take, we're here to give. So I think all of us have a flow, give and take, everyone, to make it to this point. You couldn't survive without parents or without caregivers, because human beings are very vulnerable for a very long time, sometimes endlessly so. And so our very survival is dependent on other people, on other people's kindness and compassion and generosity and love and loving care for us. So we don't reach adulthood without a lot of people taking care of us, teachers and so on. So it's experiencing life. It's not happening to us. It's almost like it's happening through us. And labels are just kind of, just little brushes of a stroke of a paintbrush. Oh, there's a red color and a blue color and this color. And the older you get, the more multicolour, the more you become a bit like a rainbow. Although some people want to stick to their lane and be very focused on one particular label or whatever it is, 2-3 labels. That's that's perfectly valid. Everyone's got their own thing. But part of the journey is the developing soul gifts and expressing soul gifts that you may have applied and learned in previous incarnations. So we do have this sense of reincarnation, of continuation, of things are moving through us, and a continuing story, a continuing journey of the soul. I was meant to come across your channel today because I was just having a conversation about healing from narcissistic abuse. So this is a really big topic for me, not just because of my upbringing, but also I had a relationship within narcissistic abuse was present, and trauma bonding, and I'm quite aware of dependency, codependency, and how these issues are multifactorial, multi-layered, and one can learn many things, but it is one of the great lessons is to acknowledge your own needs. For me, I can just I'm talking from my own perspective, is to be, well, this is actually my need, and if someone is stomping all over that, is walking all over you and only thinking of themselves, only about taking, well, that is a problem. And I have a certain sort of compassionate approach, which is genuine. It's a very loving approach. But in that, I sort of drowned out my own voice. And my voice was drowned out by these individuals because they didn't let me talk. It was just like talk to the hand, literally. And I put up with that, and that's a story I have of putting up with things. And sometimes I don't have much choice, or at least I don't see much choice, because as a child, that was my parenting situation. It was just no voice at all, just very much seen and not heard. And I used to hear my parents say that a lot. Children should be seen and not heard, and that was also the time. If you go back to our parents' generation, that was how they thought about children. They didn't think about the child's individual needs, about how each child is unique and it's got its own path, it's got its own personality, and that needs to be nurtured. They have very narrow ideas. Well, my parents, for instance, well, if you're hungry, go to the fridge. Basically that was their concept, and it wasn't necessarily out of bad intent or wanting to cause harm. That was the best they were doing with what their situation, where they came from. So you look, the trauma goes into generationally. It doesn't come from nowhere. It always comes from their parents who didn't care for them, and so their parents didn't care for them, and they just continued that pattern. They almost had very little choice, because really it takes the consciousness, the awakening of, this is not a healthy pattern, I'm going to change it. You have to come along and have that awareness, and they didn't have that awareness. So they were kind of walking around blinded. Parents are not qualified to be parents, I think, most of the time, unfortunately. They don't. It's almost like, to become a doctor, you have to go through a lot of education and study and scholarship and mentorship and practice, and even then you take internship and all these kind of processes and procedures to get people ready to take on a role of responsibility. Whereas parents, it's like the least path of least resistance, the least possible education to become a parent, which is no education, except the remembering of their own childhood, so that's all they have to call upon. Very narrow experience. And that's a great pity about our society, that we don't educate parents and we don't support them. I'm talking just overall, we don't support them. In some countries, there's much more support, especially with grandparents. And that's natural to the human tribe. Was very much, you have an aunt, you have an uncle, you have friends, you have grandparents, you have all these people that can be your support system, but your wisdom keepers, your authority figures, your mentors. Often people grow up and there's nothing. There's like an abyss, and they don't see their mother till 7 p.m. or their mother's got so many single parent families. A mother may have 3 different jobs or something. They don't see their mother till sometimes even worse. So those are not healthy situations. We're supposed to be a supportive, co-creational team, humanity. We're supposed to work for each other. We're supposed to live in a tribal system, not in an independent, separate, isolated reality. Yes, everything you're saying is so true. Similar upbringing, Shani says. So feel free to share more, and we can always chat offline. It's a big topic. I'm currently working with children and allowing them to express themselves is something I'm very passionate about. And thank you for sharing, Angela. And that's really wonderful. And it's something I was reading or thinking about reading and thinking about yesterday, with animals, with human beings. It's allowing them to be themselves. And that's sometimes there is an unraveling, there is an expression, there is some hurdles, and that is what we're here to do, as animals, as human beings, whatever we are. We're here to be the best versions of ourselves. We're not here to be the best version of someone else. We're not here we cannot contrive. We cannot thrive when controlled. We cannot thrive when controlled. And so much of the schooling system tends to be control and putting people in boxes and narrowing them down and limiting them. And there's a little bit of a happy medium. There does need to be some boundaries and discipline, but people need to express themselves. Children need to express themselves. Animals need to express themselves. And you put an animal in a cage, what kind of reality is that? And that's what a lot of people do with their own children. And I do feel, unfortunately, most schools put them in a cage. That's what my experience was. I went to prison for 12 years of my life, and it was completely miserable, pretty much throughout those 12 years. And that's a trauma as well. 12 years it's a very, very long time of being miserable and being in prison. And having a situation of parents who just weren't emotionally there for me or able to be present with me, it meant I didn't get any nurturing at home. I didn't get nurturing in school. I was pretty much abandoned or pretty much neglected in both environments. So there was no safe space for me growing up. Vlad says, how are you doing? Well, I'm contemplating reminiscing a lot of stuff, so it's quite cathartic at the moment. So thank you for being here and sharing space with me. That's what it's about. Allowing each other to shine, which means we need to be able to unfold. We need to be able to be real and authentic. Born boomer, but raised in the next generation, but we're survivors as a result. All of us on the show today, we definitely are survivors. As unhealthy as it was, it opened our creativity to make successful paths. And that's a good point, Marianne, because you got to be pretty resilient to have survived. A lot of people I know have not made it this far, and it's no judgment, and it takes a lot of resilience, maybe luck. I do believe it's a certain sort of soul destiny that's open to all of us. You all have a certain path towards our greater being, our greater expression of our own humanity, of who we are. Being stuck anywhere is traumatic. It definitely impacts all your relationships moving forward. So it's interesting you say that, Angela, and I wonder what you're referring to, and I wonder how that applies to me and how that's affected me. I do believe that it's almost like sometimes people are drawn together through their traumas, through their wounds, through their through their difficult experiences. That it brings people together. So there is a camaraderie. There is a sort of tribe that can emerge, even from horrible experiences like racism or homophobia or sexism or whatever it is. That can form bonds. I've seen it with people bonding over their trauma. And so the certain relationships, maybe that's not the best way to form a relationship. I don't know. But it can actually create bonds together, even romantically. A lot of the time people are brought together through their traumas. And, for me, I manifested someone who was violent and abusive, and it definitely impacted me a lot. It was a traumatic experience, and that was short term. It was short term, but I think it still stays with you. Maybe a very long time. So that was all a few months, but it's still with me, and how I dealt with it, and how I dealt with my own shadows and my own trauma bonding, and why that occurred, and my kind of softness in allowing that to be. But it did have a sort of destiny feeling about it. So, I do feel like whatever it felt like, there was a certain predestiny in it. It didn't happen accidentally. I was meant to learn and grow from that experience. I was meant to grow through that. I was meant to go through that abuse, go through that violence, go through that trauma, and emerge with it with lessons, with understanding and compassion, understanding how people get bonded, how people get into bonded relationships, how people get into trauma bonding. And trauma bonding is something I experienced as a child from the earliest age, and perhaps many of us had violent parents, and we had this this experience of trauma bonding, which is kind of love. It's love, or your caregiver. So you don't have any. You're dependent as a child. You're dependent on your parents. You're highly dependent. But when that person or people, when they are abusive, when they are neglectful, when they are violent, when they are angry, when they don't attend to your needs, there's a lot of disassociation. There's a lot of your paradigms are really shifting, because it's like, this person, I depend on this person, but they are abusive. I depend on this person, but they are violent. So it creates a very fragmented sense of self. And often people who experience those kind of childhoods have a lot of kind of self-doubt, I would say, but also these questions of like, what am I doing here? What's my purpose? This feeling of loss, this feeling of being lost. I would say that's something I hear a lot. People just feel the trauma is locked in, and they get a sense of numbness. And when you see that as a shadow, and when you see that just as a paradigm, and you can break through that and go, all right, well, I'm going to go out and live life, and it can unfurl, it can unbond, it can you can deconstruct that, and the numbness can start to dissipate. But the numbness has to dissipate through feeling your emotions. So it's got to be the cure is really feeling your emotions, is going through the storm, allowing your own anger to come to the surface and to process your own wounds, to process it. And that's where there's so many things: art, music. I love art therapy. I'm very passionate about art therapy, music as well. Any type of catharsis, moving in the body. It's got to be movement in the body, breath. It's got to, these energies need to move. Otherwise, they just become stuck. We become stuck in the trauma, stuck in the numbness, stuck in the stuckness. So we got to physically move. So that's really important for me every day, to have some physical movement. I tend to feel emotionally stuck frequently. I've linked it to my childhood. It has made me a runner, something I am healing now. So when you say you're a runner, are you talking about in relationships, I presume, in romantic relationships, or just generally? And how has that affected you, Angela? And it's kind of like, it's difficult when we see that kind of pattern, Angela, and I really thank you for sharing that, for allowing us to grow through that and going, all right, well, this is an uncomfortable pattern that I have, and it's absolutely clear where it comes from, and don't be judgmental, because it's perfectly natural you would have these tendencies, and where it comes from. It's about what to do with it now. Now we're growing this awareness, we're building this awareness in ourselves, and what do I do with it now? And next time I feel that way, is there a different way to respond? Is there a way that I can shift this, I can heal this, I can change. This is about change, and whatever pattern we have, it can be transformed. It can be a process of inner alchemy. Things can shift. But definitely, when you say run, movement's a big one for you. So physically go running, but emotionally come back. Marianne says, a residue always remains. A residue always remains. There's always a memory. An incident at 9.5 opened my consciousness towards how persons with disabilities are treated so differently. At a time, solutions for the disabled. At a time, solutions for the disabled can be. So it's a huge one. Anyone who's different, who's and so many people. I mean, we're all different in some way, but more in terms of physically. I think a lot of people with their gender orientation, their sexuality, they're processing how they communicate. There's so many ways that people are neurodivergent, how people are physically different and they look different, and people often seek the same. They want something that kind of looks like them, and they're very uncomfortable and confronted by people who are different, or less, are differently able, less able, disabled, however you describe it. Words are also powerful and can be disempowering. So the disabled, I think, almost it also can be a little bit disempowering just to use those terms. So I think our language can really evolve how we describe people. But there is a reality, of course, if a child is blind, a child is deaf, a child, there's so many, unfortunately, illnesses that children can develop, and so often they're born with these illnesses. So it's very, very challenging. There's a lot of people autistic on the spectrum, but a lot of people I've seen have the very difficult situations, and it's just that they're different, and they're still lovable, and they're still beautiful. They are different from others. Very unfair, Marianne says. Angela says, I run from anything that reminds me of the feeling of being stuck. So that's a huge realization for you, Angela, and for everyone sharing this show. I run from everything and anything that reminds me of the feeling of being stuck. I feel like running when someone needs me too much, when I feel like I can't move up in a career, when I struggle with my health. So it's wonderful, Angela, that you are bold enough to share this, because we grow so much and so many people resonate with that and have similar experiences. For me, I stay stuck often, so I don't run. I just feel like that's uncomfortable. I'm just going to stay there. And very much, you have your fight, flight, freeze, fawn, all these, trauma responses, fight, flight, freeze. When we have like a lion that's coming. For me, it was generally just freeze. That was how I responded. So freezing is kind of my go-to, and I see that in life often, of just not instead of just like running, or instead of just avoiding something. Sometimes I will leaving. I'll just be there and I'll just sit with it, which can lead to strange situations. Or just staying in a toxic relationship, that's a good example. Just staying with that person instead of seeing that sign. There was many signs, and then I'm not tolerating that. So that's a self-worth issue, I would say, where I'm not valuing myself, and I'm not valuing my own needs. So your pen, Angela, I run from anything that reminds me of the feeling of being stuck. It's kind of can bring you lots of rewards. You can move forward quite quickly with things and gain many experiences and growth through that coping mechanisms. So some of these things can be winning formulas. They can work for us, but they're never going to work in all situations. And for you, I feel like it's in the relationships that you are feeling a deficit. I've been stuck in fight for about 5 years, working on healing my nervous system. So that's a huge growth for you, Angela, in allowing your nervous system to process and allow it to be, and find your own find your own tribe, find your own path that ignites you, that lights you up, that allows you to grow and be nurtured. But this is really a huge lesson, Angela, a huge growth area, and your awareness is very marked. It's very wonderful, and it's interesting because I was picking a card for you, and the card that came up was gratitude, was appreciation. So I always feel like that's the feeling pouring out of me towards you. It's for you, it's being grateful to have that awareness and appreciating yourself to gain that awakening, that glimpse. And instead of there's a picture here of someone very worried. So there's this worry. Shift that into being grateful for having the awareness, appreciating having this inner knowledge, this self-knowledge. Hi, Vlad. Is that a rose? That's really very looks like a rose, but I'm not sure. Is it an eye? That's a new picture. Angela says, making connections help me. I appreciate you and the community you provide for all of us, and I appreciate you, Angela. Appreciation cards, so lots of gratitude. So sharing is caring, and we grow through sharing, and all of us have experienced some traumas. So when we can experience life and see the different perspectives, not necessarily go down every path, but just acknowledge every perspective as valid, and seeing it as a co-creation, as a multi-dimensional experience. Many labels, but all we have really is oneness. People call it God, but it's like so many colors, and yet there's just underneath it all is just oneness. Switch to YouTube. My Facebook is being glitchy. Welcome to YouTube, Vlad. Please do to like and share the show. I'm gonna pick a card again for Vlad and see if we have anything to say about you today. It feels a little bit like you're looking over the fence and you're looking at this option, that option. You're kind of looking at life a little bit at a distance. So just engage with one thing, like one thing really important to you. Start there, and really engage with it fully. So that's the that's coming from this card. It's almost like you're staying safe. So we're talking a lot about trauma here and childhood wounding, and how a lot of us may have experienced single parenting, or may have been neglected. I think most of the kids today have some experience of neglect, of parents not being attuned to us, not being there for us, perhaps treating us like I don't know, like pictures, like novelties, not really being there for us, for our own unique experience, for our own needs, because everyone has different needs. Every child is different. So if our parents are not attuning themselves to our how we experience the world, then there's a huge deficit. For me, it was just this absolute isolation, and there was just nothing for me. It didn't, well, nothing kind of nurturing for me. It was very stunted, a very stunted childhood. I just didn't have people that were really there for me. So show up for yourself now. Show up for yourself today, Vlad. Staying safe is no longer the option for you. This card is saying the world is outside your little safety web, your little safety gate, your little sanctuary. So I can understand you saying stay safe, and I do it too, believe me, Vlad. This card is encouraging you to step out of that too. So thank you, Vlad. Marianne says, a card, please. I'm having my highly sensitive sponges experiencing too many others. Anxiety. And that's a lot of empaths around. I'm an empath, and we absorb things, and we need to realize that. We need to work on our boundaries, and also self-care. We need to take care of ourselves and realize our own needs. We can't just give everything over to other people. All right. Okay, so Marianne, I see your ability to kind of transform. It's almost like an alchemist, like you have an ability to create some magic in the world. There's also a beautiful card which says that you do get spiritual support. There is an angel of love there to guide you, to bring you support, and there's also a lot of possibility. So these cards are very optimistic, very very kind of encouraging. They're saying really there are new beginnings. There's a new vibrancy opening up to you. There's a shift. There's a blossoming. There's an inner healing. So that card is very very encouraging. The other card is saying you do have spiritual support that is offering love and unconditional support and devotion. So you can call up your spiritual helpers to give you that tenderness, to give you that support that you need. And the other card I picked, I was talking at the beginning about this ability to transform your reality, to shift your perspective, to be a sort of gatekeeper of change, a gatekeeper of options, a gatekeeper of wisdom, a gatekeeper of consciousness. And there's an eternal nature to that truth that you're holding, Marianne. So it's an eternal nature to the truth that you are holding within you. So you almost have the key to unlock that message, that wisdom, that alchemy. So thank you, Marianne. And thank you so much, everyone, for being here today. Angela, I've really appreciated all your sharing, and I look forward to more sharing. It's been really wonderful. There is a link below. Actually, my website is down at the moment, but for anyone who wishes a one-on-one session, there is the heal.me link, and you can always connect with me on social media. Please do to like and share the show. Vlad says thank you. Marianne says thanks. I'm going to go ahead and say goodbye and wish you all an amazing week. Lots of love to everyone, whatever you're experiencing. Sending you lots of love. Remember, you're not alone. And there are many others in the world experiencing the same or similar things. And we're here to support each other. We're here to bring each other home. We're here to give each other love. So huge love to you, Angela. Huge love to all of you. Huge love to you in Florida. And Shani has reappeared. Well, I was just saying goodbye to everyone, Shani, but I'll pick you a quick card. Because you asked. All right, so there's very much a healing that's being manifested. It's like you are calling for this healing. It's kind of response to your soul path. So this healing you can call it your destiny. This is bringing you ancient wisdom to instigate healing, to allow your consciousness to shift. It's kind of like both love, but also awakening. It's bringing you physical, mental, emotional shift. So this is very shifting, very much a change, bringing you a deep level transformation. So it's a very encouraging card. It's saying that there is a shift happening in your life, and that's an internal alchemy shift. There's also an external shift, and it's like you're finding your community. I'm seeing you find your community. There's much more support for you, friendship. I'm seeing a lot more social occasions and social opportunities and possibilities, and much more resonance happening on a community level for you, Shani. So it's almost like an internal shift is creating this outward shift, and this outward shift is much more happy, much more joyous, much more about fun. So that's really, really great for you, Shani. Go out and enjoy is what I get for you. So see you all next week, everyone. Have a beautiful, beautiful week, and please do like and share the show. Bye.
Gentle glow, Hawaiian fire shines, its quiet flame, both soft and divine. A leader of thought, inspiring minds, its spark guides others to paths refined. meticulous with an eye for detail, crafting visions that never pale. Technological wisdom fuels its flame. Innovative ideas that shape its name. Creative spirit, art it reveres. Appreciating beauty, its passion is clear. With elegance, it nurtures dreams. A light of grace, subtle and serene. Intuitive touch, a flare unseen. Adapting swiftly to shifts routine. Gentle yet firm, it holds its sway.